Hey everybody, welcome into Faith and Football. My name is Neil, and we made it. We're here. This is the week. In just a few hours, we're going to have real, meaningful fantasy football to talk about. Well, honestly, fantasy football is relevant to talk about anytime, but it's going to be even a little more meaningful because we're going to have actual points being awarded for the games that are being played. So how awesome is that? Look, I hope that your draft went awesome. Ours did. We had an outstanding time. We had a couple of guys that had some issues. One guy was sick, another guy had family problems he had to tend to, and another guy was in Dallas. But they were dedicated. They lived up to their word, and they came through and drafted anyway. And that's what we like. We like when somebody comes through for us, right? When somebody is a true fan, uh, a true disciple of the sport. And that's what we're talking about today. And remember, this is Faith in Football. So if you're new to the show, this is your first time tuning in, this is a faith-based fantasy football program. And I know you might be thinking, how can it be a faith-based? Like, what does faith have to do with anything? Stay tuned. We're about to find out. So we're talking fan, follower, or disciple. This is the start sit edition, week one for Thursday, starting into your weekend. We're going to be coming out with these every week or every Thursday. I'm going to have my start set come out. My Tuesday is going to be a review of what happened the weekend before. We didn't have one on Tuesday this week because I had my draft. So priorities, guys, priorities. But today we're talking fan, follower, or disciple. Now, a lot of people know or have a loose definition of the word fan, what it means to them. Um, we have kind of been diluted down in the word follower. Very few people use the word disciple. Every now and then, I hear that word in the analysis, in the color commentary, where they're talking about, this guy's a disciple of this coach, or that guy's a disciple of that coach, whatever the case may be. Now, what we don't understand is what the true meaning of that word is. I'm going to give you a couple of definitions right here of fanatic and follower. Fanatic is the word where we get the term fan from. Fanatic is a person filled with excessive and single-minded zeal, especially for an extreme religious or political cause. And I'll add in there sports team, organization, whatever the case may be. Um, if you're a fanatic, like that used to be a bad word. It used to be used for extremists, for people who are fanatical about whatever they were talking about. They were a religious fanatic, and people use it in a very negative connotation. Um, and then we have the word follower. A follower is someone who supports and is guided by another person or by a group, religion. Um, Here's the thing, though, is that society has so distorted what follower and a fan is that we don't understand. We use the terminology and we're not understanding what we're actually saying. Now, in the Bible, you had fans of Jesus, you had followers of Jesus, and you had disciples of Jesus. See, fans were those people who were like, yeah, I heard about this guy named Jesus. He was doing really cool stuff. Like he was healing people and he was speaking the word and he was opening eyes of the blind and healing the lame and helping the lame to walk and the blind to see and the deaf to hear, and he fed all these people. It was really cool. Like they were fans of Jesus. And when you're a fan, like you don't really know the behind the scenes stuff. Nowadays, you have all this access to all these people. So when you say that you're a fan, that kind of turns into follower. Now, follow along with me. If you're a follower, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, sorry, forgot to turn my notifications down. My bad. If you're a follower of Jesus Christ, like there were people who followed Jesus Christ up to a certain point. They really weren't, they were just following along because they got caught up. Y'all remember the scene from Forrest Gump where he was running across the country and he was running and people got inspired by him and they thought that he was running for a cause, he was running for a purpose, and that they just got inspired because somewhere down deep inside they wanted that, they needed that. And so a bunch of people started running with him. They didn't know why. They were just running. They were just going with him. They felt inspired. They went along for the ride. A lot of people did that with Jesus. They saw him going from town to town and healing and doing awesome, amazing, wonderful, miraculous things, wonders and signs and miracles. And they were like, this is the Messiah. This is the guy that we've been waiting for. I want to be on his side. I want to be with him. What they didn't know is exactly what it was going to take to truly follow Jesus. Now, if you're a follower, that's great. If you're a disciple, that means that you're close. That means you have an intimate relationship, not biblically speaking, but you know what I mean. You have a very close relationship with whoever it is that you're a disciple of. You see the behind the scenes stuff. You see the struggle. You see the work that's put in to get what the public sees. So let me read you a couple of scripture to prove my point here. Some people came up to Jesus and they were like, what does it take? I want to follow you. And in Matthew chapter 8, verse 20, it says this, as Jesus replies, says, foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. So like Jesus didn't have a home. He was a nomad. He was a pilgrim. He was basically homeless. He would go from town to town and just stay with whoever he would take him in. And then in verse 21 through 22, it says, another disciple said to him, Lord, first let me go and bury my father. But then Jesus told him, follow me and let the dead bury their own dead. Now that's kind of harsh, but sometimes that's what it takes. If you really want to be a follower, if you really want to be a disciple, it takes another step. Like guy was saying, hey, let me go bury my pop and then I'll come follow you. But here's the thing is that there should be nothing more important to you than following God. See, if you start following God, everything else just falls into place. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. You're not going to want to do certain things, but you have to show that faith. You have to show that willingness to lay down your life as Jesus laid down his life for us. Now, in the parable of the sower, we see in Mark chapter 4, verse 10. Oh, sorry, in Mark chapter 4, we see the parable of the sower. And those who know the parable, like the seed spread here, the seed is spread there. Some of it is fertile ground, some of it is rocky ground, some of it the birds carry away, some of it gets choked out by thorns. And Jesus often spoke in parable, and at the end of the parable, he would say, those who have ears to hear, let them hear. Well, everybody's got ears. And if you were around Jesus and you were deaf, he helped you out with that so you could hear him, so you could hear the word. So everybody who heard him heard the word, but not everybody was listening. And see, I've been in the restaurant business a very long time. And there's often times where I'll tell people, you have to hear what the person's saying, but you got to listen to what they want. And if you're not listening to what they want, then you're not hearing them. And it sounds like double speak, but let me put it to you like this. Somebody is ordering a burger and somebody says, I want, let's just say it comes what we call fully dressed, which is lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, pickles, onions. Somebody goes, well, I don't want lettuce, I don't want tomatoes, I don't want onions, I don't want pickles, I don't want mayonnaise. Now, they just told you they want a plain burger. That's what you hear is all the things they don't want. What you have to listen to is what they actually want. They actually want a plain burger. People may be telling you, you might hear from time to time people going, man, nobody listens to me, nobody cares, nobody's around, nobody cares where I'm at or what I'm doing. That's what you hear. When you listen to them, what you are listening to is someone saying, I'm lonely, I'm lost, I want help, I need companionship, I need a purpose, I need someone to care about me. That's what they're saying. It might not be what you hear, but if you're listening, then that's different. So Jesus, after he was done with this parable, he had his disciples come to him, and it's Mark chapter 4, verse 10, the NIV says, when he was alone, the 12 and others around him asked him about the parable. They were looking for a meaning. They were like, hey, what does this mean? We want to fully understand what you're talking about. The only way you get that, the only way you get that closeness is if you have a relationship with the one who is speaking. So if you have a relationship with God and God is telling you to do something, then you can understand it a little better because you're close enough to him to hear him. You're close enough to ask the questions. You're close enough to listen and understand what he's telling you. And if you don't, you're close enough to ask the question. See, the people who heard him speak the parable and then they went about their way, like he was speaking to a crowd. He was speaking to a whole multitude of people when he said this. And many people walked away, man. That was deep. That was deep. I don't know what he meant, but that was like profound. You know what I mean? Like that's how they were acting as they walked away, and then they were like, okay, well, where do you want to go? Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell, what you want? But the disciples, they were close enough to him. They had a relationship with him. They had that accessibility to him to go, hey, what does this mean? What are you talking about? So as we get into the start set for week 1, I want you guys to ask yourself, are you a fan of Jesus? Are you just enthralled by you know, the works that he's done and the things that he can do and the things you hope he does and the little goose pimplies that you get when that one, hour and a half service while you're in church when the pastor hits on a subject that's been bugging you all week? Are you a fan of Jesus? Are you a follower of Jesus? You read the word every now and then, you listen to a couple of podcasts, but you really don't get into it. You don't get that closeness. You're not discipling anyone. You haven't grown in your Christianity. You're a follower. You know certain things and you can quote scripture, and that's great. But is there a direction for your efforts that you're doing? Because we can follow everybody on social media and think that we're following Jesus is the same thing. It's not. Or are you a disciple? See, in the Bible it tells us that the Great Commission was to go forth and make disciples of the world. In order to make a disciple, you got to be a disciple. You can't make something that you're not. Like, I'm not a mechanic. Okay. I can't go and like just rebuild a vehicle. I don't have that expertise. I am a chef, so I can make food and make it well. If you don't believe me, just ask the guys who were at the draft last night or Tuesday night. So if I'm a disciple of Jesus, that means I can make disciples of Jesus. That's what I'm commanded to do. But in order to be a disciple, I have to have that closeness. I have to have that relationship. I have to put in the work that a fan and a follower don't. See, a fan just roots. A fan just pulls for teams. There's nothing that you can do as a fan to affect the outcome of whoever you're a fan of. Like, I'm a fan of Washington. I can yell and scream at the TV all day long. It's not going to make Jaden Daniels run faster. It's not going to make him more accurate in his throws. I can't, yelling isn't going to make Terry McLaurin catch the ball and run for an 80-yard touchdown. I have nothing to do with that. If I'm a follower, same thing. I might have more information. I might know like a little behind the scenes stuff. But when it comes down to it, I still don't have an effect on the outcome. But if I'm a disciple, if I put in the work, if I have the relationship, then I can make a change. I can make a difference. God can use me the way that He meant to use me. He meant to use all of us as disciples. So, are you a fan? Are you a follower? Or are you a disciple? Ask yourself that. And if you're not, the third one, then what do you need to do to get there? So think about that while we talk about start sets and why you go throughout your week. I hope you guys got everybody that you wanted to get. I know we really don't sometimes. Before I go into my start set, I am going to kind of go over Sleeper a little bit because that is the platform that I operate on. If you operate on a different platform, most platforms have very similar layouts. They have very similar tools to help you throughout the season. So look for them as I point them out on Sleeper. You probably have those also on Yahoo, ESPN, wherever you play fantasy football. Um, if you need some questions asked down the bottom, hey, hit me up, subscribe, like, share, drop a comment, ask me a question. If I don't cover a guy who I probably won't, if you're having a struggle with, let me know and I will answer your question like that. Okay. Now, guys, I'm doing my best to upload the video that I took at Zia after we were done with our draft to show you the back room that we were in. It's an absolutely beautiful room. They're down at 235 Duce Road off of Johnson Street. And if you just happen to be passing by Duce Road Tuesday afternoon about 30 o'clock, my boy Marshall was out there with me fulfilling his obligation as the last place finisher in our league last year. And that was to stand on the corner of Doucette and Johnson in a tutu while wearing a halter top and holding a sign that says, "I suck at fantasy football." So that was his punishment. And the good people at Zia were happy enough to sponsor this show. That's why I plug them all the time. They have been with me since the beginning, and I thank them. If you're in the Lafayette area and you need some catering done, give them a call, 337-406-0013. Talk to Andy or whoever picks up the phone. They'd be more than happy to help you out with all of your catering needs. And don't forget that if you go down there in person and you say that you heard about them from Faith in Football, you get a free appetizer, your choice, the ribs, the hummus, the Kung Pao cauliflower. Yes, we're deep frying cauliflower down here in the South. So make sure that you're mentioning my name, this show, to get your free appetizer. Okay, guys, even the Met hummus. and the shrimp. I got you covered. You want surf, you want turf? I got you. Just for me, from me to you for free from them. Okay, guys. My other sponsor at the draft last night with a king cake for us, none other than Dusty from Keller's Bakery in Youngsville, Louisiana at 627 Lafayette Street. They got a little white cake with a chocolate football on top of it. Absolutely phenomenal. Look, guys, there's nothing better to kick off the season than with some king cake and a little bit of cakes and some cookies. It was phenomenal. I loved the sweets coming out of Keller's. Now, my wife says they were too sweet, but she's also diabetic, so she's not supposed to have them anyway. But that being said, it is absolutely phenomenal. And if you go down to Keller's at 627 Lafayette Street in Youngsville, Louisiana, you mention, as you do in Zia, that you heard about them from Faith and Football. You don't have to buy anything. I do recommend it, but you don't have to get 2 free cookies from me for you, from them for free. Guys, how good of a deal is that? And don't forget, if you're in the Lafayette area, you're downtown, you're a little hungry during the day, maybe you sightseeing, maybe you just new in town, you come to see us, maybe you work downtown, maybe you live in the area. If you forgot something for dinner, my boys down at Ami's Groceries at 603 Jefferson Street inside of Gordon Square, they got you covered because they've got family meals in the frozen section. Take them home, heat them up, no muss, no fuss, right there for you, for the family. And they are absolutely phenomenal supporter of the local economy because they have over 200 different items from over 50 local vendors. Go down there, help out the local economy, and get yourself something delicious to eat from their kitchen. Their menu changes daily. Check out the little chalkboard menu outside. 603 Jefferson Street inside of Gordon Square. That's Ami's Groceries, downtown Lafayette. So let's get into start sit. Well, I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit. We're not going to do start sets just yet. We're going to do a little screen sharing here. And now, this is what I'm considering my league of record for this season. So there I am. So my league of record. This is a team that I drafted Tuesday night with my guys. And yes, that is me telling my opponent this week, my boy Greg, to bring it on. Yeah, we talk a little smack in the chat. But now this is going to look a little different on your phone. So I encourage you to go look at this app on your phone. When it has the opponent here, is like Tampa Bay is facing Atlanta. This is going to be color coded. If it is red, that means that they're facing a really tough matchup. If it is yellow, it's kind of okay. If it is orange, it's somewhere in between medium and hard. If it's green, like a light green, then you're kind of getting a better matchup. But if it's dark green, then it's all wheels up. You should have no problem, have all confidence in the world starting this player. Okay. Now, here, if you click this icon right here, it gives you the latest news on this player. So, you can scroll down, you read all the news, you can scroll down here. This is all of Baker's upcoming, and then you have his career. It breaks it down by year. So a lot of helpful information on that. Now, I wish that I could turn my phone around and show you guys, but I can't. Because it just won't come up and won't look at. But like I said, if you see the green, then you're good. The matchups that I have this week, the only really tough matchup that I have is with Miami and Indianapolis. I got Josh Downs. If you guys look right down here, I got Josh Downs. Miami's supposed to be a tougher matchup. in the secondary. Now, me personally, I don't see that. And here's the thing that you have to remember is that week one, a lot of the basis of whether a defense is good or not is they're taken from last year's expectations or how they finished last year. So after about week four, you're going to get a clearer picture of who is really a hard defense, who's really an easy defense. And of course, injuries do play into that. So you want to keep an eye, even though we don't play defenses in this league, we don't play IDP, which is individual defensive player, and we don't play whole defenses. But it's something to keep an eye on for your offensive players that are going to be facing those defenses. So something that's a next level type thing. So I'm trying to bring you guys up another level, making uh, your knowledge a little greater. Now, one thing I do want to remind you guys of before we get into start set, make sure that your lineup is set correctly. And what I mean by that is if you see right here, Devontae Smith, he's playing Thursday night. Now, I could have had Devontae Smith in a flex position, but here's the problem: is that if him playing Thursday night, if he's in a flex, let's just say, for instance, that I've got him in the flex and or actually, I tell you what, let's just go ahead and we'll do this. So we'll flip-flop this. Okay, so I'll put Ridley up there in the wide receiver position, and I'll put Devontae Smith in the flex. Let's just say he's in my flex, and let's say that Ridley plays Monday night. Okay, so Monday night players you want in your, make sure I'm saying this right. Yeah, Monday night players you want in your flex positions. Thursday night players you want in the positions that they're at. Okay, and the reason being is because if something were to happen where, let's just say that Ridley gets hurt, okay, if Ridley is in a flex position, I can use either a running back or a wide receiver to fill that gap for that night. So whoever's still on the waiver wire for Monday night, I can go ahead and throw him in that spot. Easy peasy, no problem. But if I've got Devontae Smith here locked in a flex position, then the only person I would replace Ridley with is a wide receiver. And this actually happened to a couple of our guys last year where there was some question as to whether the player was actually going to play on Monday night. And there was a guy available on the waiver wire. The only problem is the person that was available was a running back, and what they needed was a wide receiver. So they couldn't switch them out because they didn't have a spot. So make sure that all of your Thursday night guys are in the position that they need to be in, their positional spot. So you put a wide receiver in the wide receiver spot, or running back in the running back spot. And then for Monday nights, all your Monday night players, you want your wide receivers. If you're in a super flex, or if you're in a tight end premium league where you can sub out a tight end as well. Pardon me. You want to make sure that your wide receivers are in the wide receiver spot, that your running backs are in the running back spot for a Thursday night. For Monday night, you want to make sure that they're in the flex position. Okay, so you have more flexibility to make adjustments. Okay. So just a couple of things that are little things that do make a big difference during fantasy football season. Okay. So let's go ahead, start sit. Now, I want to let you guys know I'm not going to be, telling you any kind of crazy stuff like you need to start Lamar Jackson. Duh, we know this. Okay. You need to start Jamar Chase. Yeah, I know. So like your stars, your studs, you're going to start them regardless of matchup, regardless of, whatever defense they're facing. You're going to want to start these guys. What I try to do, I do my best to tell you guys to start guys that you might be on the fence about that could have a better game than some of your mid-range guys that you got in your lineup. And then when I tell you guys to sit people, there might come a time like this week where I tell you to sit a marquee player. Now, if I tell you to set a marquee player, there is a reason. I'm not just going to pull it out of thin air and go, hey, I really don't like this guy. Let me pull him out and throw him into the sit category. There's going to be a reason I'm telling you this. It's because the expectation for this player is going to be so great. And you're going to want to make this guy, you're going to want to think that this guy is going to get you like 24, 30 points in one game. And in all reality, he might get you like 12, 13, which is still a decent outing, but there could be somebody on your bench that's going to get you just a little bit better. They might not be as talented, but they have a way easier matchup. So let's dive into it. Let's start with the bad news first. We'll do that. We'll start with the sits. So sits of the week, I'm going to try to always give you two running back, two wide receivers, and two quarterbacks to sit. Tight end, look, tight end is so top heavy, it's not even funny. Unless your name is Kittle, Bowers, or McBride, then look at the matchup and make the best choice you can. That's the best advice I can give you. Don't stress over tight end. Okay. Look at the matchup, play the matchup, look at some talent, play whoever's more talented. That's the best advice on tight end I can give you. Okay. So anybody who tells you different is just trying to get you to buy something. Okay. So let's start at quarterback. We're going to start with a Thursday night game. Nope, I'm not telling you to sit Jalen Hurts. And no, I'm not telling you to sit Dak Prescott just because I'm a Washington fan. I would love to see that. But if you look at this matchup is horrible for Dak for the first game out of the box. First game with George Pickens. First game after Philly wins the Super Bowl and they're starting their defense of that title. Like, Philly's coming out on a mission, okay? Just straight up on a mission, guys. So if I've got Dak, number one, Dak was probably your backup. So if you're thinking about starting Dak Prescott over whoever you decided to take first, don't do it. Sit Dak Prescott, let this really bad matchup pass by, start whoever else you got, because whoever else you got has a better matchup than Dak does. Okay. So Dak versus Philly, let's leave that alone. Next up, Justin Fields versus Pittsburgh. Revenge game. Ugh. Yeah, I see that narrative. I love that narrative. I can get with that narrative. But what I can get with is number one, the fact that you got an outstanding defense on both sides of the ball. You've got coaching staffs that hate to throw the ball. So is Justin Fields really going to be let loose game one? I don't see it happening. I don't see the chemistry there throughout the preseason with Garrett Wilson. I don't see it there with any of the other pass catchers. Mason Taylor, the rookie tight end, is a rookie facing an outstanding defense in Pittsburgh. Look, the Watt brother that is still playing, that's still in football. TJ, look, this guy's going to wreak havoc in the backfield. So both defenses are going to be out to make a point. This game could be like 10-7 and everybody will be perfectly fine. It could be a battle of field goals And anybody who's playing the kickers in these games are going to be the only ones that are going to be happy. So sit Justin Fields down because, again, same as Dak, he was probably your backup. Because if anybody drafted Justin Fields as your starting quarterback, then you're not doing a late round QB. You're doing a zero QB strategy, and that ain't going to work out. So sit Dak, sit Justin. Running backs, Brees Hall. Look, there is way too much doubt in my mind about what is actually going to happen with the Jets backfield this year. Plus, again, playing Pittsburgh, I don't see them with a three-back committee actually doing something. Having one guy pop off week one, like, come on. I'm not seeing that. I'm not feeling that. So sit Brees Hall. There's way too many question marks around this. Let it pass by. Let the same as with Dak and Philly. Let this bad matchup go because you got better options. Next up, DeAndre Swift against Minnesota. Look, everybody's making a big deal about Ben Johnson being the savior of Chicago, just coming in and reworking the whole team. It takes time for a team to gel. It takes time to understand who's going to be where and what's going to happen, all this other stuff. Now, I hear you out there. I hear you saying, "Well, DeAndre Swift was with Ben Johnson in Detroit." Yeah, and they shipped him out to Chicago. Like they let him walk because he didn't fit the system that Ben Johnson had offensively. Now he's head coach. He got stuck with DeAndre Swift. He didn't choose DeAndre Swift. He did. He chose Monangai, Kyle Monangai. Look him up. Third on the depth chart, right behind Roshan Johnson. So he drafted not only another wide receiver, which did they really need? No. They could have re-signed Keenan Allen. They brought back Roma Dunstay and DJ Moore. They drafted a top flight rookie tight end when they still had Cole Kmet. And then they bring in another running back. Ben Johnson didn't need these guys. He wanted these guys. And DeAndre Swift is not one of Ben Johnson's guys. So don't let that fool you. If you were kind of forced to draft him, I get it. I understand if you chose to draft him. I got questions. But going up against Minnesota, I'm not feeling that. Okay. So sit DeAndre Swift. As I said in the previous ones, you got better options. Okay. Now, into wide receiver, DK Metcalf. Yes, I'm picking on the Jets Steelers matchup just for the simple fact that this is a defensive matchup on both sides of the ball. Both of these defenses are top five coming into the season, and I don't see any or enough change in the offseason to make me think that they're going to be anything but in 2025. So DK Metcalf, yes, he got paid. Yes, he's like the only guy that you can throw to in Pittsburgh. But when you've got an aging quarterback who apparently didn't get the memo that he's over 40 in Aaron Rodgers, sorry, I don't see it. What I do see is a whole lot of check down to Jalen Warren, but we'll see about that one. And when you've got Freiermuth, Jonnu, and a third running back running in formations during practices, what is Arthur Smith really doing? And besides, do you really want a piece of Arthur Smith's offense? He's the one that held back Bijan Robinson. He's the one that held back Drake London. So do we really want somebody who's calling plays that just wants to run the ball and ground and pound and play defense because Tomlin's the same way. Tomlin, that's all he wants to do. He wants to slow down the pace of play, which they have the perfect quarterback for that because Rodgers ain't that he wasn't that fast to begin with, and being older, he's not that fast now. So I would sit DK Metcalf. Now, here's the big one. Here's the one that's going to take some kind of cojones to actually do because you drafted this guy in the first round. In the first round at wide receiver, none other than my boy from last year, Malik Neighbors. Guys, I know it takes some doing, but hopefully you got some depth at wide receiver. They're facing Washington. You've got Russell Wilson throwing the ball. Neighbors has been dealing with a shoulder, a back, and a toe injury. This guy, when you talk about that little song, heads and shoulders, knees and toes, okay, this guy's going shoulder, back, and toes. Okay, throw something else in there if you want to make it rhyme. Okay, or if you want to add in a fourth, because I'm sure he's dealing with something else we don't know about. But the toe injury he's been dealing with since college. The back injury was supposed to be not that serious. But do you really want to take a chance against a Washington defense that is improved? Okay. This defense is better. I mean, look at the back end of the last year's season. This defense came together and stiffened up at the right time to get them into the playoffs, to make that run to the NFC Championship game for the first time, if I'm not mistaken, since Kirk Cousins did it. So, guys, come on. Sit Malik Neighbors, let it go by. Hopefully, you got some depth, and we'll see you next week when you can get wheels up on Malik Neighbors. Make sure that he's healthy. Don't take that chance week 1. Okay? Take a chance with the guy you know is healthy. All right? So, let's get into the good news because, hey, we started off with the good news of Jesus Christ. We hit a little negatory in the middle. Let's make this a really good sandwich and put the good bread on top of this with the starts of the week for week 1. Trevor Lawrence versus the Panthers and Bryce Young versus the Jags. That's right. We're going the same game with both quarterbacks. Look, Trevor Lawrence, new head coach, revitalized, weapons galore. This guy has everything you could ask for a bounce back season to actually, well, not even a bounce back season. Let's call it a coming out party for Trevor Lawrence against the worst defense in the league. You couldn't ask for a better week 1 start than playing against the Panthers. They're absolutely horrible. And the second best that you could ask for is playing the Jags. Come on, Bryce Young, after the benching last year, look, Dave Canales benched him week 7, if I'm not mistaken, or week 5. Benched him for like 3 weeks. This guy came back mid-season, week 8, after Andy Dalton was just balling out for fantasy. He came in and was like a different quarterback. Okay, don't ask me to explain it. I can't. But this guy just played at a different level from week 8 on. Now, a lot of your leagues, he went undrafted because nobody had belief in him. Nobody had faith in him. I didn't take him just for the simple fact that I had Drake May and Baker Mayfield. They're just better. Sorry, they just are. I got more faith in Drake May, but that's me. But it doesn't mean that Bryce Young isn't an outstanding option for your week 1 against a absolutely horrific defense. Plus the fact you got brand new Jalen McMillan. Yes, he's probably going to be facing Travis Hunter, but if you guys remember correctly in an interview Travis Hunter was asked, who was the hardest wide receiver for you to face in college? His answer, Teteron McMillan. That's right, T-Mac, the guy he gets week 1. So go ahead, fire up Bryce Young, fire up Trevor Lawrence, unless, of course, you've got like Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, any of the top 5. Cool. Anybody else past that, if you've got Bryce Young or Trevor Lawrence, fire them up unless they got a better matchup, and I don't see that coming. At running back, guys, there's nothing better for an older running back than an absolutely decimated Swiss cheese defense, which is the New Orleans Saints. And I'm talking about James Conner. Look, he's an older running back, yes. However, it's not like this guy needs a game to get revved up. He's already revved. He's been revving since he was in Pittsburgh. Okay? This guy will run all over the Saints. And it's not like they're going to be down during this game unless the Saints get the ball first and score. That'll be about the only time they're going to be trailing in this game. It's going to be ugly and it's going to happen quick. And then they're going to do nothing but want to run the ball in order to preserve that week 1 victory to get them off to a good start in Arizona. So fire up James Conner and don't worry about it. Next up, the Tennessee Titans. And hold on. I know. Their defense is all right. Their defense is pretty good. However, they're facing the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos have Sean Payton. Now, this is more of a confidence in the coaching and expectation from the player. And I'm talking about none other than R.J. Harvey. That's right, the rookie running back sitting behind J.K. Dobbins on the depth chart. Now, here's the thing. You got J.K. Dobbins. A lot of people think he's going to be in the Mark Ingram role from the Saints days of old. That's how Sean Payton works. Then you put R.J. Harvey in the Alvin Kamara role. Yeah, we all seen what Alvin Kamara has turned into without any Mark Ingram. So R.J. Harvey has every single opportunity to be the Alvin Kamara of this generation. R.J. Harvey will become the new Alvin Kamara. I think the talent is there, the opportunity is there, and the coaching is definitely there. So fire him up. And besides, he's a rookie. Let's see what the kid's got. And week 1 is going to be the best time to see it. Now, we're going to go from one rookie to another rookie. We're going to go with one of the only wide receivers for this team that everybody, and I mean everybody, is high on and waiting for. That's Matthew Golden from the Green Bay Packers. Now, I'm going to show you guys a little something, and it's going to it's not really going to clash, but it might make you go, why is that on your wall? So, real quick. Yes, I have a Packers emblem up on my wall. You might be asking yourself why. If you watched the show before, I've referenced it. My wife is a cheesehead. So, in order to have all the other memorabilia up on the wall, I went ahead and bought her a Green Bay emblem to hang up there as well. So she is represented, okay? Being a good husband. So, but Matthew Golden, definitely fire him up. Look, I'm not scared of Detroit's defense. A lot of them are coming back from injury. You got a new hit. You got a new OC. We don't know how good this defense is going to be this year. Last year, remember, it was absolutely horrible. That's why they had to score so many dang points just to stay in games. Now, Jaden Reed is dealing with injury. Christian Watson, don't know when he's going to show up. We're still waiting for Romeo Doubs to show up, even though he's not injured. Like, when is this guy going to come through? So you got like 3 or 4 veteran wide receivers that we got a lot of questions about. Question we don't have is how good Matthew Golden is. This guy, they took a wide receiver when they didn't have to. Green Bay has a plan for this kid, and I think it is going to be greatness. So, fire up Matthew Golden against the Detroit Lions and just sit back and enjoy the ride. Okay. Next up and final, but definitely not last, newly acquired wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, Adam Thielen. That's right. Thielen is back in Minnesota, and you've got Jordan Addison suspended for the first 3 games. You've got Justin Jefferson dealing with a soft tissue injury. So that leaves Hawkinson, and it leaves Adam Thielen to take the passes from first-year starter, second-year quarterback J.J. McCarthy, who just so happens to do the same training program as my very own Jaden Daniels with the VR glasses. Now, if there's one receiver out there that is just an absolute technician at running routes, at being where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, and able to catch whatever is thrown his way, it would be Adam Thielen. I mean, this is the same guy that made Bryce Young look good before the benching and after. Like, he was there. He was relevant, and he was game-winning worthy anytime he was on the field. So he's not going to be the guy like he was in Carolina. He's coming back to be the number 2 right now, then the number 3. My advice, if you have Adam Thielen, let him blow up week 1. If you can, ship him out, unless you think that Justin Jefferson isn't going to stay healthy this year. Then stash him, hold him. Depends on your depth. Now, if you got questions, again, down below, hit me up, let me know, and I'll help you out. So there's my start set for week 1. Agree, disagree, whatever you do, drop me a comment below. Tell me why I'm crazy or why I'm brilliant. Either way, down below, I'd love to have some conversation with you guys. So let me know if you got questions. If I didn't touch on a player that you have, which again, I probably won't because there's 32 teams and everybody's got like 53 guys on the roster. I can't do that math in my head, but it's a lot of guys. So I'm going to miss somebody. But hit me up down below. Let me know what your league is. Let me know what questions you're facing for week 1, and we'll help you get straight. Maybe not for the Thursday night game, but definitely for the weekend. So we'll see you guys back here on Tuesday, and we'll review everything that went down week 1. Guys, we're here. We made it. NFL is coming back, baby. It's back in a couple of hours. Strap in, hold up, and get ready for a wild ride. So, guys, as always, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it greatly. And remember, subscribe, like, share, all that kind of good stuff. Smash the notification button. I'm trying to go live. I don't think I have enough followers to do it, but you guys can help that. So help me out. But until next time, we'll see you guys. And remember, football is good, but God is greater. We'll see you guys next time on Faith in Football. God bless. Have a good week.